Hi everybody! I'm finally making this video. I feel like I have a story to be told, and I've been wanting to tell this story for the past few years, but honestly, I have not found the courage, energy, or the time.
But I read this quote, and I really do believe that sometimes people's heartaches ends up being someone else's hope because they survive the heartache. So it's important to tell your story so that you can be the light in someone else's darkness.
Plus, just recently we have a huge turn of events that's going on in my life that you might want to be a part of, and that in itself might be helpful to others. So my name is Marjorie, for those that do not know me, and my nickname or my childhood nickname is Margie. And I feel like there's just so much in a name. And Marjorie actually means pearl. And in order for a pearl to be created, an irritant has to enter into a shell.
So the shell could be a particular species of an oyster, mussel, or clam. And as a defense mechanism, the mollusk secretes a fluid to coat the irritant. And then layer upon layer of this coating is deposited on the irritant until it creates a beautiful pearl.
And the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like I'm trying to make my life into a pearl whenever I'm being thrown all of these situations and irritants in my life. And it definitely feels like it's parallel with what I'm going to be talking about today. I grew up in a big family, so I'm used to sharing with others. There's 6 kids in my family, 3 girls and 3 boys. Grew up in the north suburbs of Chicago, which was nice. Always was a creative kid and ended up going in the direction of art, and I'm an artist. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in painting.
For many years now, I've been doing commissions for people of their special photos with people and with their pets, especially dogs. And I also create original paintings. In the past few years, I've been hosting painting parties for private, school, and fundraising events. Now, just due to the pandemic, I am now teaching online, which has been a fun way to connect with people and talk about art. Another thing that's been keeping me super busy is creating paintings on ornaments, whether it's houses, cats, dogs, anything special.
How I got involved with the ornaments is a story in itself. As a kid, I always just dreamed about getting married, just the typical girly girl dream, having a house. So I used to play house all the time, and I loved playing dolls. I just thought, just naturally, like life was going to be get married, have kids, be an artist, live in the suburbs. But that's maybe not how things turned out exactly.
But I guess it's like they say, life is not about the destination. It's definitely about the journey. And a lot of times that journey teaches us, but also if you share your journey with others, you have the ability to teach others. The interesting part of my journey started in 2004.
I finally met my first husband at the age of 28. And we got married kind of quick, shortly after 9 months. It was really a beautiful wedding, almost like fairy tale like. We had a horse and carriage, we released doves. It was a pretty hot summer day, but the pictures are beautiful.
I was so excited. I wore my mom's headpiece that she wore for her wedding. And the wedding took place in the same church where she married my dad. Since I'm an artist and I love being creative, I decided I wanted to design the invitations and also the program, and I just had so much fun doing it. I was so excited about the wedding.
The reason why we got married so fast is because we talked about having kids right away. Since I was 28, we didn't want to be too old parents. Now, shortly after we got married, we went on our honeymoon to Hawaii, which was beautiful, and my husband said he wanted to wait to have kids, which, it's fine. Of course, I was upset, but what's a big deal to wait a year or two before planning a family? That's kind of huge. And so the years rolled by, and I got to sit on the sideline, watch my family and friends have their babies, and I would always bring up, when are we going to have kids with the husband? And it became eventually a sore subject until finally, after 6 years of being together, we were going to try. So we found out after trying that it was not possible for us to have kids without the assistance of IVF. So no big deal, but actually fertility is a big deal.
There was a lot of hesitation on his part, and the marriage became more strained. I decided I needed a break, so I found a small apartment. I think at that point he realized how much I wanted a family, so he finally decided he would do IVF. I ended up using the apartment as my art studio / office. Now, while I was getting the treatment, it kind of felt like I was on my own. I was doing all my shots myself, and also I was going to the doctor's appointments alone.
Now, in the meantime, in the back of my mind, I was thinking about the marriage and whether or not to bring a child into it was a good idea, because just over the 6 years it was kind of deteriorating. But I figured I would let God kind of guide me through what should happen. The day before I was supposed to retrieve my eggs, if you know anything about IVF, it's kind of a very involved process. We got into a fight, and I just kind of felt like it was a sign that maybe we should not be bringing this child into this marriage.
And I realized that having a family and doing all this IVF was definitely something he didn't want to do.
And so I decided at that moment that the marriage was over, which, wow, that was a very hard decision. But it just felt so right just to end it at that time before this big thing was going to happen. And I called my parents, and they went with me to the hospital because I had to get the eggs retrieved, and there were 25 eggs, and they were super nice, the staff, because I was bawling my eyes off, very upset just with the big decision I made. And they said it was no big deal. We can just freeze the eggs, and a lot of people do that since I was 36, so that kind of put me in a place of peace.
Now I was living in that apartment trying to process that I was getting a divorce after 7 years of marriage.
Then a few days after I'd made that decision, since I was making such big, huge life decisions, I decided to get a dog, a puppy. And I found Molly, and I swear when I say this, Molly is totally heaven sent. And I mean, when we're talking about a puppy, she just wasn't that annoying, didn't do a lot of that annoying puppy things. She rarely barked. She rarely chewed up things, even though she did chew up a few things. But she would just listen to me, cuddle with me. I took her everywhere. She was totally my little baby. So she was the baby I was supposed to have, and that's exactly how I treated her, and she acted like just a really good baby. So that was so wonderful to have her in my life. So now I felt like I was in a really good place with my little dog Molly, and I ended up meeting my second husband, and things were great. I felt really happy, and we dated for a year and a half before we decided to get married.
So again, this was another beautiful wedding. We decided to have a winter wedding. Christmas, colorful was the theme. And since I'm an artist, again, I got really involved with planning the wedding, creating a painting that was used for the invitation and also the program. Made the girls bouquets out of brooches, made my bouquet out of crystal brooches, made all the centerpieces, just really invested a lot of time and energy into this wedding. But I had a lot of fun doing it. I was, again, excited. Felt like it was a do-over, another chance. I also wanted to incorporate something special from my mom's wedding, and she had a very long train that was handmade by her mother and also sister. So I decided to wear that, plus my sister wore it for her wedding, and it just made me super excited about my wedding day. It was a lot of fun.
And at this point, I was 38. So naturally, we decided we have to start trying for kids really fast if you're going to try naturally before using the eggs. And so right away, we got pregnant, which I was so excited because this was the very first time I saw the positive lines. I was dreaming about this little baby that I was going to have, and went to the first doctor's appointment.
We did the ultrasound at about, I think it was 6 weeks, kind of early, and they did not find any heartbeat, but they said it was kind of early, so to come back and they'll check again in another week.
They checked for a heartbeat, and there was no heartbeat. And I have to tell you, like, the first time a woman experiences, or at least for me, that miscarriage, it really kind of flipped me upside down.
For outsiders, it might appear as just two simple lines on a pregnancy test. But for someone like me, who wanted a family more than ever at the age of 38, it was my entire world and future filled with hopes and dreams. Then, in a split second, it's gone. It all just disappears, and I'm no longer carrying life. The feeling of emptiness was nothing I had experienced, and it was really hard to feel the joy in the world around me.
So then, after the first miscarriage, we decided to buy a house in the suburbs, and we actually ended up buying a house that was at the top of our budget between our two salaries, but I was pretty excited. And of course, we got pregnant right away again. And I was a little bit more cautious with my emotions at this point, and we went to the doctor again to hear the heartbeat, and there was no heartbeat. They were able to get some tissue, and from their testing, they found out there was chromosome abnormalities.
We also found out it was a boy, and again, my heart was broken. Another miscarriage.
I'm sure many women here know what that feels like. After that, we were like, okay, let's just try a third time. But I do feel like some of the hope that we had in our heart kind of dwindled down. And I got pregnant, again, a positive pregnancy test. And this time with the positive pregnancy test, I decided to keep it to myself. I didn't share it with my husband, just in case it would end up with a miscarriage. I was just going to kind of deal with it myself without telling him, just because I felt like he was a little worn out from the other two miscarriages. So I was a little bit scared because I'd been spotting, so there was a little bit of blood when I went to the doctor's office, and all of a sudden on the monitor there was twins. The doctor and the ultrasound tech and I just like screamed so loud we could not believe it. The twins were conceived completely naturally. It's called spontaneous twins. And I just felt like it was God's way to kind of make up for the other 2 miscarriages. I felt like my heart was going to explode out of my chest. I mean, it was pretty darn exciting. So I rushed home. I couldn't believe my husband wasn't there for the ultrasound now. I was regretting having him not there and not being able to experience it. And I actually got lost on the way home. I just kind of missed my turn and just kept on driving and had no idea where I was. It took me a while to get back home, and I gave him the news. Now, of course, having experienced the 2 other miscarriages with the news, it wasn't the most joyous. I mean, he cried, but he's like, we need to proceed with caution. So 3 weeks after we found out we were having twins, I lost my job. And I lost it because they decided to get rid of my entire department. I had worked for the Art Institutes, which is part of the Illinois Institute of Art, as a guest speaker. And I went to high schools and talked to students about different creative careers that they might be excited about. Now, this was a job that I absolutely loved. I'd been doing it for 12 years. So it was extremely hard for me when I lost it, and it was very stressful dealing with this pregnancy with twins where I was spotting and going out job hunting, and very stressful doing interviews. It was just a really hard time. And that pregnancy, when you're pregnant with twins, it's always going to be complicated, plus with my age. And to make a long story short, that did not end too well. So halfway through the pregnancy, I went into preterm labor, and we lost the boys. It felt like any sort of future or hope was completely shattered. It was definitely extremely hard. It changed me and my perspective of the world. It felt like everything around me was about children and family, and I was extremely sensitive. Simple conversations about children made me feel pain instead of joy. I did not want to have these feelings, but I could not understand this new life with this huge hole in my heart. So I think dealing with birth and death in the same day was quite an experience. Going to a funeral home, picking out a coffin, which actually it was really sad, but one of the nice things, at least the funeral home we went to, they actually paid for it. Even though I had wonderful friends and family around me trying to help, I felt alone in my grief, especially in my marriage. There was a lot of hospital bills that needed to be paid, and that's how I got started painting these ornaments for people for gifts, since it was around the holiday season. It all started after the death of the boys. So then spring rolls around, and we're still dealing with the grief. And a pipe burst on our street, and we happened to have one of those driveways that slanted down, and our entire sub-basement and basement flooded, the entire thing. the city had to get involved for cleanup. It was a huge headache.
And at the time, my husband, he had lost his job at the school that he was teaching at. And by this time, I did have a job, but it was a commission-based job. So I had a job in fundraising, which made me go out and do a lot of cold calling. And it's just one of those types of jobs or professions that takes a while to build up. So I was definitely not bringing in the money.
And especially since the fact that we had just bought this house that required both of our salaries,
we knew we needed to move. But by this point, my husband had found another job a little bit further out away from the city, so we decided to move in that direction.
With a lot of couples, if they're not strongly connected, they might go in different directions with dealing with a big loss like this. And as far as my husband and I, he decided maybe not to try for children anymore, that he wanted to be the fun uncle and aunt and just enjoy our nieces and nephews. But I was still in a place where I really wanted kids, just for the fact that I still had those frozen eggs. And it didn't make sense to me at all just to be the fun aunt. I knew I wanted to be a mother. And of course now we've arrived at a place where we are on different pages, and we both were grieving differently, and it created a split. So we decided to get a divorce, which it was hard, but it kind of felt like the natural thing that happened. Now I was in a place where I was divorced twice, and I still wanted to have kids. Wasn't going to give up on hope. I don't know. I think just having been divorced twice, there's so many lessons to be learned and things that I can share with people about red flags and things that I learned about myself that I would love to help others through.
My husband ended up leaving the place that we were renting. It was a pretty town home, and I let the landlord know the situation. And I know prior to actually renting the place, they were trying to sell it for many, many years. And so I told them if they want to put it on the market, it might be easier for them to sell, since I was into interior design and trying to make the place look really nice. And long and behold, they ended up selling. They got an offer right away, and I had to be moved out and find a place within 2 weeks. Never a dull moment in this life. So the good news is I was actually moving closer to my family, and I ended up finding just a 2-bedroom apartment. So I had to get rid of, obviously, everything that was in the house, which was like a pretty big house, 4-bedroom house. So I was selling everything, getting rid of a lot of stuff, really learning how to detach from material possessions. And I made this apartment as cute as it can be. You know, it was going to be Molly's and my little happy space. And I wanted to make sure I had fun doing it. It's all about the process. And during that time, I decided to take charge of whatever I could take charge of. For example, like my diet, started exercising, really taking good care of myself. And I poured all my energy into like my art business, working on paintings. So I just kept myself busy with really positive things. One of the things I had fun with that was helpful for me thinking about the future was creating vision boards. They gave me a guide or a dream plan, dreaming about travel. I created one where I wasn't giving up on hope of finding love and eventually having a family. And since it was just a vision board, I got really silly with it, and I created a board where I was on the Ellen Show promoting a book I illustrated about Dilly the deer. It was just a lot of fun. It's a super fun true story about a deer that lives in a house. I definitely was just having fun with these vision boards, and they did affect and lift in my spirits. So I felt like it was a really positive thing.
So then in 2018, I met Andy, and he's my current husband. And Andy and I have history together. He is my brother's best friend from high school, and they stayed in touch through the years. Also, Andy was married to a very creative, nice woman. A lot of people can learn actually how a divorce should be. When you have children involved, they get along, and we're raising their 2 kids with them. It's a very good situation. And then he's also a physics guy. He's a physics professor, has a PhD from Stanford. So proud of that. And he also is a musician. He writes music, and he's awesome at the guitar. But one thing that's so great, he's just an extremely loving person, super kind. He bends over backwards for people. Such a great father, and he loves being a father. And he loves being a father so much that he liked the idea of being a father again. Which that was on my vision board. So showed him the vision board, and he made it a part of his mission to make my visions come true. Like, he was going to help me make that happen, which, I mean, how could you not marry someone like that, right? So we dated for a while, and he literally took me around the world. He had physics conferences all over the place. We went to Italy, we went to France, California, Rhode Island. I don't know, the list goes on and on. I have tons of video footage from the travel. It was so much fun. And one of the places that I always was dreaming about going to is Paris. And that was on my vision board. So he decided to propose to me outside of the Eiffel Tower. It was so much fun. The ring he used to propose to me was a moissanite, and it looks like a diamond, but it's way less expensive, and it's a lot more sparkly, like it has a fire sparkle than a diamond. Scientifically speaking, it's because it has a higher refractive index. His intention behind this was for both of us to design the final wedding ring. It turned out unique and special because we used 2 sapphires, which is September's birthstone, to honor the twin boys. And the good times continued. We had a courthouse wedding on May 1st, which was the anniversary of my parents' and sister and brother-in-law's wedding anniversaries. Both of them have long, successful marriages, so we figured that date could bring us good luck, and it would be fun to share the same anniversary. We had dinner at a local restaurant with close friends and family. It was just really lighthearted and fun. This way we figured we could start trying for a baby sooner rather than later, since I was 42 years old. And by the grace of God, a miracle did happen. We did get that positive pregnancy test. It was such a surprise it happened so fast, because we were planning a wedding reception celebration for our extended friends and family. And now I was going to be looking for a maternity wedding dress. We decided to have the celebration on the 3rd year anniversary of the birth and death of the twins, because we felt like in losing them, it brought us together. And we wanted that date to have happy memories.
The reception was so much fun. Our guests had a chance to hear how talented Andy is on the guitar because his band played a few sets. Life was good. Actually, life was great. So we were married, we had a baby girl on the way, we went on a honeymoon to Florence, Italy, we did some more traveling, some trips to Venice, Germany, Vienna. We enjoyed the holidays. We were in a good place in our life. We were just waiting for our beautiful miracle to be born. And she made her arrival on New Year's Eve. And we named her Mariella, which means miracle. It's a French name. Hope. And she weighed 8 pounds, 9 ounces, 21 inches. Just a really healthy, happy baby. Life was definitely good. We were blessed. I do have to say that the delivery was not at all what I imagined it to be. I ended up with a 3rd-degree tear, and apparently only 3% of deliveries end up with this type of tear, where the muscle was actually torn. And I'm not sure if it was due to the fact that I was induced, my age, I was 42, plus little Mariella's heart rate was skyrocketing at 190, so they had me push fast and furious, and her head was 99 percentile. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I feel like people should talk to their doctors and nurses about the possibility of injury, because I had no idea. And make sure you go home with antibiotics and pain pills, which I did not go home with. With all that said, I had the most amazing, beautiful baby, and I'm all healed up now because I had great surgeons, and life is good. On January 23rd, 2020, Andy received a sad phone call from the police saying his father was unresponsive. His father passed away. He passed away suddenly, so he never got a chance to meet his newest granddaughter, Mariella Hope. I think during a time of grief, I find comfort in this quote that says, "Death takes the body, God takes the soul, our mind holds the memories, our hearts keep the love, but most importantly, our faith lets us know we will meet again." March 2020 rolls around, and after my first day back to work from maternity leave, everything shut down due to the pandemic. I ended up getting a job in January 2019. It's just a part-time job working at a prestigious college, working with high school programs, so it was pretty easy to move it online. Andy ended up teaching and running his physics lab from home too. We decided to make the best of this time being at home. It just gave us more time with Mariella, Molly, and Andy's kids. We had some fun showing our support for the frontline workers, creating and cutting out hundreds of hearts and putting it on display in our front window. During this time, I decided to start my online classes. It's been a little bit challenging to get students, more than I expected, but I'm hoping it will eventually take off because it would be a great source of income that would allow me to work from home. And I think this is going to be important, especially since I don't know what life is going to look like in the future. I started a big commission and a painting, and it took almost a year to paint just because I was stopping and starting, and there's so many disruptions of home life. But it's fun to see Mariella really little, and then she's so much bigger by the time I finished.
You want to make a painting with that too? Yeah.
I think we felt lucky that we were stuck at home because we really were able to see Mariella grow and change so rapidly during that first year, and we were able to hold on to every single moment. Really was nice to be at home. This way we could prepare food in the kitchen and have fun little fancy dinners. Do things a little bit different, kind of slow down and enjoy our family. The only hard part was not having extended family, being able to enjoy Mariella, and not being able to see my parents, especially since my mom's health was declining. Then on July 3rd, only 6 months after Andy's dad had passed, she passed away. My mom was always filled with so much energy, and she had so much love for her family. It was heartbreaking, especially since she died alone in the hospital due to the pandemic rules. Having a wake and a funeral during this time was hard. There were so many people who wanted to be there but could not. I have a lot of beautiful, fun memories with her, and I know her love will live in my heart forever. On a beautiful summer day, September 21st, Andy and I and the family went back to church for 2 sacraments. We celebrated the sacrament of marriage officially in the Catholic Church, and also Mariella's baptism. So yes, technically this was Andy's and mine 3rd wedding type event. But in order to get married in the Catholic Church after a divorce, it is quite a process and it takes a while. And between each of us now losing a parent and the pandemic, we were so happy we celebrated our union the year before in 2019. Autumn came with warm winds and lots of beautiful gold leaves. Mariella was hitting lots of milestones ahead of her time, and she was walking before she turned 10 months. We were excited to celebrate her first holiday season. Her first Halloween, we went with the woodland theme of making her into a cute little fawn. The kids put on their masks because it was during the pandemic. The neighbors came up with fun, creative ways to hand out the trick-or-treat candy, and I think the kids actually enjoyed it.
Like that, Mariella? Merry Christmas!
Christmas 2020 was pretty low-key, which was nice because it gave me a lot of time to work on some of the ornaments. I usually have a lot of requests during this time.
What do you think? You like your you get to sit here. Happy first birthday!
Yay, happy birthday!
Should we get her a bottle?
Yeah.
The holidays were extra special because in the midst of all of it, we found out that Mariella was going to be a big sister. I wish my story was ending there, but at 9 years old, my sweet little angel dog Molly passed away on May 1st. Andy and I just came home from celebrating our second wedding anniversary from the court wedding, and we came home to her lying down and she was suffering from a stroke. In 2019, we found out that she had IBD, which is irritable bowel disorder, which causes protein losing enteropathy. But we managed to figure out the treatment between meds and diet, and we were able to have her around for Mariella's first year. Sadly, it flared up again and she was gone within a month. After everything I had gone through, she had been such an incredible comfort to me. A piece of my heart died with her because I really felt like I lost another baby. She was not just a dog. Run free, baby girl. I hope there's lots of yummy treats in doggy heaven. I'll miss you. Prior to making Mariella a big sister, we talked to doctors about using the frozen eggs due to my age of 44. But they thought there was no harm in trying on our own for a couple of months since we didn't need IVF last time. So we were really surprised when we got pregnant so fast. We found out that the baby had markers for trisomy 21. They did a nuchal translucency scan and it was abnormally large at 4 millimeters. Further testing confirmed the diagnosis, and we also found out that she was a little girl. The name that popped into my head was Grace Joy. The fetal echocardiogram also confirmed that Grace had many heart defects and she was going to require lots of surgery as an infant. And there was a good chance that she would not see the age past 3 years old. With all of this news, there was a lot of fear, anger, and sadness. The big question was, now what? So much uncertainty in the air. At our 16-week ultrasound, Grace gave us a sign, and she actually used the sign language, I love you. When I saw that sign, I just kind of felt like all my fear melted away for the rest of the day. if you can just say a small prayer, we would definitely appreciate it. We don't know exactly how this story is going to end, so if you would like to learn more, we will be posting more videos as information becomes available. So just click subscribe on my YouTube station. Thank you for listening to our story and for your prayers.